Hey everybody, welcome to PBI Radio. I'm Chris Guns, and today my guest will be Daniel Jacobs. He has a lot to talk about, a lot of good things going on in his private life, and he's making his ring return in October. And I'm sure he's got a lot to talk about. Some of it might surprise you. Let's get him on the line. Daniel Jacobs, how you doing, man? Thanks for...
Awesome, doing awesome, bro. Doing awesome. Can't complain at all.
Tell me about yourself, man. You're raised in Brooklyn.
Raised in Brooklyn, Brooklyn Knight, Brownsville, decent, if you will, but definitely looking forward to participating in this historical event come October 20th at the Barclays Center. So history will be made.
So tell me about what Brooklyn was like growing up there. Tell me about it.
Growing up in Brooklyn, man, it has its pros and it has its cons. You know, the cons I'm sure everyone knows about. You know, things that people see on TV. It's that and more. You know, growing up where I grew up in Brownsville, and it's the toughest neighborhood in Brooklyn. You know, bar none. So I've seen a lot more things than a lot of people think I have, or a lot more people would expect a young child to. So. But as far as the pros, I mean, it definitely made me who I am today as far as being, mature, a hard worker, making something out of nothing, being appreciative of everything that I have, and not taking anything for granted, working hard to get to where I want to be. Because to get out of Brownsville, man, not too many people come out of where I'm from, so to make it out, or to have opportunities to make it out, see different things, see the world, start a family, get your own. A lot of people don't have that opportunity. So, I'm in a blessed situation, to have some sort of success.
Yeah, you are, and I'm glad you know that, because not everyone does, man. And
absolutely.
Tell me about your home life growing up. Who was in your house? Who raised you?
Well, my home life, I grew up with my mom. I grew up with my grandmother. We all was in one household. My older brother and my dad was, even though him and my mom went together, he was always present, you know what I mean? But he wasn't particularly in the household, but he was always there. Like, he was a great dad. He was a very supportive dad, especially, with me boxing, he was very supportive of what I was doing.
Yeah,
but, I had a huge family. And we all lived pretty much like in one building. So, that was pretty much a great situation. For example, if one person in the street messed with us, you got to mess with all of us. You know what I mean? Or if I went hungry one night, I get a chance to go over to their house and get something to eat, or vice versa. So we always was just a big family, and we all had that love. So, even though it was tough growing up in Brownsville, I wasn't missing love, and I think love was probably the most important thing that we need to have growing up.
That's right. No matter where you are, you need love.
Right.
What kind of kid were you?
I wasn't a bad kid. I was actually. Well, let me see, because people. I wasn't a bad kid, meaning I wasn't like in the streets. I wasn't, doing what normal teenagers do where I come from, which is selling drugs or, it's just that lifestyle. I never was in that life. Like my grandmother, and she was really in my butt. She was raised. Well, she was a Jehovah's Witness, and if you know anything about Jehovah's Witnesses, they're very strict. Mm-hmm. So my grandmother was very strict on me, and I didn't really have interest to do those things. But I was a knucklehead as far as fighting my brother, or being in school and acting up. You know what I mean? So that's the extent of that. But
so normal.
That, I was a pretty okay kid. I came out okay.
Yeah, totally normal, man.
Yeah.
So who got you into boxing? Did your dad?
Well, no. It's a funny story, because I remember one time I was in school and I got into an altercation with this kid. And I remember getting in trouble right after from the principal. Then I got in trouble from my mom and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, I know I can't fight in school. And the same kid that I fought, I heard about him going down to the local boxing gym at the PAL. So I was like, oh, wow. So now I have the opportunity to go down there and beat him up and not get in trouble. You know what I mean? So I signed up the following week, and I went down, and when I tell you, I never experienced anything like love at first sight. Like, that's what it felt like to be down there, to smell the sweat, the smell of the bags and the smell of the gloves. It was just like I needed to be there. I never felt anything so distinct like that in my life. But needless to say, the second day they had me sparring, I beat the guy up. I realized that I had some type of talent, so I stuck it out. You know what I mean? And then a couple months later, I won my first national tournament, which was the silver glove. So I had a belt, and this was like, to only be in boxing for a couple of months and to have a national belt, that was unheard of. So I knew I had some talent, and this also kept me off the streets. And at that time, I was 15 years old. I was definitely looking to get into something that because the streets was calling. When I tell you that, it's like when you don't have that person, like a person that kind of takes you under their wing and show you the ropes the right way, it's kind of hard to not, because the streets is the easiest thing to go to. You know what I mean? So boxing was definitely my savior.
Yeah, and so you got into boxing at 15 years old?
Yeah, 15.
That's incredible, man. And you already had over 140 fights, right? As an amateur?
Yeah, that's exceptionally fast, man. Compared to, me being a slow starter, quote unquote, in boxing, because normally you start at 8 or, 9, but I started at 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I knew I had some type of talent.
And you started winning all kinds of awards and tournaments and national championships. Yeah. And did you try to get into the 04 Olympics?
I tried to get into the 04 Olympics. I actually came close. Bonez, I think, made the team. But what happened was, when I was going for the trials, I know what happened. I woke up late for the weigh-in. And I was in the finals for the Eastern trials. And it was a guy that I had fought and beat already, so I knew I was going to make it to the trials. But, whatever reason it happened, me waking up late, it just happened. So, I waited for the next Olympics, and, whatever happened. But my whole amateur career was just nothing but happiness, nothing but great experience. I got a chance to travel the world. I got a chance to make a little bit of income to, take care of myself at that time. So, I was loving it. Win, lose, or draw, it was a great experience in my life.
And where's some of the places that you got to see that most
people...
see,
from 16 years old, I went overseas to Sweden. Then, I went to Russia. Then I went to the UK, Liverpool, London, Mexico, Puerto Rico. The list goes on and on. Yeah. And this is what made me actually train hard, because I wanted to travel more. It was a learning experience for me. Because all I seen was where I was from. I didn't know anything different. You know what I mean? So get a chance to see how other people live and see the beautiful parts of the world. This was encouraging, you know what I mean, for a young kid like myself. So it was just a great situation all around.
Yeah. So how come you didn't wait till the 08 Olympics? You turned pro in December of 07. Did you miss out on the 08 Olympics?
I got robbed by Sean Estrada in the finals of the Olympic trials. So I'm actually an Olympic alternate for the 2008 Olympics.
Yeah. Wow, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like the rules of the amateur system. A lot of robberies going on. What'd you think of it?
It's a weird system. I don't know. Back in the day when Sugar Ray Leonard and all those guys, when they was winning gold medals, it was completely different system. You know what I mean? I wish you could go back to that old system where that whole point system really doesn't matter. Because why train us one way in the amateurs and then expect us to be good pros? It's a big transition to make.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had a pro style, so turn a pro was the next option for me. So I did that, and I took that to the limit.
Man, you decided to turn pro after that Estrada loss, and before you turned pro, you signed with Oscar and Golden Boy, right? What's that like to do?
Before I turned pro, I signed with Al Heyman first.
Oh, okay. Al Heyman's.
Got with Al, and then we went to Golden Boy, and then we got to deal with Golden Boy. So, I just was. Once again, I was in a blessed situation where, sky was the limit for me. I had the right team behind me, and all I had to do is just train hard, display my skills, and I was going to be pushed in the right direction.
And what's that feel like to be talking to Oscar De La Hoya someone you grew up watching?
Wow, I mean, first and foremost, he's one of an idol of mine. So to even speak to him or even to be on his stable, just gives me that extra boost, that extra confidence. Like, I'm really special.
Yeah.
And that's how I looked at myself, as a special fighter, and that's how I train, and that's the mentality that I have. It was nothing cocky. It was just a great boost of confidence. Because to be on somebody like even Al Heyman, I mean, there's only champions on the stable of Al Heyman. You know what I mean? So, and at that time when I turned pro, he didn't have as many fighters as you do now.
No.
So it was really a big deal for me. So I really felt blessed.
Yeah. To have to decide between Al Heyman and Oscar De La Hoya, can't go wrong, really.
Right. No, actually, Oscar is the promoter and Al is the manager.
Yeah.
So they're both on the team. So it don't get no better than that.
Don't get better. And
right.
Do you remember who you fought in your first fight and what the result was and where it was?
I remember that it was the biggest fight at the time, and it was the Floyd Mayweather-Ricky Hatton card.
Yeah.
And it was nothing that I've ever seen before. I mean, the atmosphere was truly amazing. The fans, they're supporting Ricky Hatton. The energy was, it was really the way a fighter's supposed to turn pro. That's actually the way you're supposed to start it off. So I remember, going through the whole weigh-in, and that was new to me. It was just very exciting, but I was a little bit nervous. I wouldn't lie, because the headgears came off and the little gloves were put on, the little 10-ounce gloves. So that had a little bit of challenges in itself. But when I had gotten to the ring, it was 29 seconds and I knocked the guy out. I mean, I don't even remember getting hit. You know what I mean? So the jitters just turned into confidence from that point on. And from that point on, we just started fighting, months, maybe once or twice a month.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just to build that confidence. That's really the way an amateur. I mean, when you have an extensive amateur background like myself, that's when you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? Because you can't go from fighting, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a month to fighting once every 3 or 4 months. So I was moved very well.
Yeah, you were sometimes fighting twice a month. And did you make it back out to see the main event that night? I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah. I had my whole family there. My mom was there. My dad was there. Like, my whole entire family was there. And it felt good to actually have them there, because it was their first time in Vegas too. So they was big fans of Floyd, and to have me on that card, I knew they was very proud of me. But we all just had a great time watching the fights. Enjoying Vegas together. It just was a really, really great time in my life.
And Floyd's still unbeaten, still awesome. As a boxing guy, you have to respect Floyd. What makes Floyd so great, man?
You know what makes Floyd so great? And they say what separates fighters from great fighters from other great fighters. I think it's his confidence, man. It's like when you get in there, it's the nervousness that separates you from another fighter, because your nervousness can affect the way you perform. And I think he just has 100% confidence in what he does, let alone his talent is superb. So, Floyd Mayweather is the greatest of all time because of his confidence first. I mean, his skill first, his confidence secondary.
Wow, so you put him as the greatest of all time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the greatest of all time. I wouldn't say maybe the number one, but definitely one of the greatest of all time.
That's what's up. And you stopped Hector Lopez with a body shot, and then you beat up on Alexander Volkov on the undercard of Kelly Pavlik, Jermaine Taylor, too. So you started out fighting on the biggest cards consistently. Pavlik is someone you might still face someday. He went downhill and had to battle his demons, but he seems to have things back in order. What do you think of Kelly as a fighter? You must have spent time thinking about what a Pavlik
it was one point where I thought Kelly was very dominant. He was fierce. Like, it was no one getting in his way. And this was at a time where I didn't even think about fighting him at one point. But over the years, like you said, his skills kind of diminished and went downhill a little bit. So as a fighter today, I think Kelly Pavlik is a C fighter. I think he goes into a lot of fights, and this is not bad talking to him because he said it himself, but he goes into a lot of fights with a game plan, and then he never executes the game plan plan. Like Will Rosinsky, and he talked about how he could have did this or he could have did that. You know what I mean? So whereas before he was doing those things, but I do think he's still a great champion. I still think he has a lot that people need to be worried about. You can't just go in there thinking just because he had a couple bad fights that you're gonna walk over him, because he's still a force to be reckoned with. Mm-hmm. But I really rate him as a C fighter right now. He still maybe has the ability to move up, but I mean, when it move up to a B class or A class fighter. But as of right now, I really think he's in the C section.
Yeah, and then you stop Matt Palmer in 1, and then you're on the undercard of 2 of the greatest fighters in the history of the sport. You beat up on LaShawn Sims on the Calzaghe Hopkins card. You got to be a huge Hopkins fan. Tell me
Absolutely.
Did you ever have a chance?
I'm a huge Hopkins fan as well.
Yeah, me too. And did you ever have a chance to talk to Hopkins? I'm sure you have.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, man, when he actually gave me his number, I was just like, like me? Like, you want me to have your number? You know what I mean? Because I have so much respect for him. Oh, yeah. It's him outside the ring. It has nothing to do with him inside the ring, because what he does inside the ring speaks for itself. Yeah. But it's who you are outside the ring and how you treat up-and-coming fighters and the advice that you give them. I mean, I look at that. You know what I mean? Because that's important, Mm-hmm. A lot of great fighters, or a lot of fighters, up there, they don't really support young fighters at all.
That's true.
Whether it's the slightest advice or whether it's help with moving you along or anything to help. So the advice that he gave me, man, we had a long talk, and he's just a really cool, down-to-earth brother, and I'm really grateful I had the opportunity to meet him and to really personally get a chance to know him.
Yeah. What about Joe Calzaghe? I think if Joe was American, he might get more respect here. Maybe if he fought here more often as a young guy. But what'd you think of that fight? Who'd you think won it?
With the Joe Calzaghe, but no, it was it was a very, very close fight. I thought it could have been a draw. Mm-hmm. I really thought it could have been a draw, but the way these judges, these old judges, I don't know what they be seeing nowadays. I wish they had some young, energetic judges that, can actually see and didn't need glasses. Mm-hmm. But that's the way it is. I guess they got the more experience, so they've been doing it for a long time, but, can't call it.
Yeah. Then you stopped Jose Pena on the De La Hoya Steve Forbes undercard. What's that like to fight on an Oscar card, to be a part of that media?
That was a very interesting point in my life, because I hope it's the same guy. I had my son, which is 3 years old now. That was Wednesday. I had my son, which is December 4th, and I had to leave that same day, right after my son was born, to go to Las Vegas for this prime fight. So it was a whole bunch of mixed emotions. And it was crazy, but it just goes to show you the dedication that you have to have to this sport. Yeah. So anybody in their normal mind, why would you leave the hospital when your child is born? This was I was a first-time dad, so this was like something totally new to me. But I had a chance to go out there and still have a great time. I was featured on TV. I caught a great knockout. They made a pretty huge article on me in the Daily News about me and my child. So that was one of the highlights that I had in my career. And I got home, got a chance to see my baby, and it was all love. So that was a great experience for me.
Sounds good to me. And
yeah.
Julio Perez and Sergio Rios were both first-round victims, and then you made quick work of Ramon Espinoza on the big Juan Manuel Marquez, Joel Casamayor fight. Another massive card. What's that like? Any difference seeing a fight with a bunch of Mexicans cheering for a Mexican great than watching American fighters with American fans?
You know what, man? It's sad to say, but the most love and the most the energy of the crowd that I've experienced was of the Mexican descent. I mean, they're so dedicated to this sport and to supporting their fighters. I mean, a lot of Americans, it's sad to say, but they don't really support they're fighters as much as anybody else does.
Nope.
You know what I mean? And it's sad to say, but that's just what it is. I wish it could be different. I wish I could say that wasn't the case, but that's what it is. But to fight, in that atmosphere, well, the Mexican, it was amazing. It was amazing. And I built a little Mexican fan base of myself. So, everywhere I go, I get the love from the Mexican fans, and that feels good. Because I don't really say they're my people because they're fans, so they're my people. But I would expect to have American fans be more supportive than anybody else. But it's a total opposite. But I don't care where I get the love from, because I do it for the fans. What I do, I'm an entertainer. I get in that ring and I try to entertain whoever is watching. So whoever likes it and clings and cheers me on and supports me, that's who I'm gonna show love to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. I don't look at it as how could you not support me and we Americans? I do it for everybody. I do it to whoever is a boxing fan, whoever want to see me fight. I give my best to give them a great show.
And that's why they love you, Danny, because they recognize that, and even grandmothers love boxing in Mexico.
Absolutely. So true.
So at that point, you're 9-0, 9 KOs.
Yeah.
When you fought Emmanuel Gonzalez, this one on the Shane Mosley, Ricardo Mayorga undercard.
Right.
First time you were brought the distance, you won by a big margin, though. How'd you feel after going 6 rounds?
Well, me and this guy, we had history, actually, because he was at one point the #1 ranked Puerto Rican in Puerto Rico. And we had a duel, New York versus Puerto Rico. And I went out there and I had a chance to box him. And I beat him, actually. And I think he had some emotional problems behind that. So he wanted to get a little bit more revenge in the pros. I was very familiar with his style, and I knew he was going to bring it now that it was the second time around. So it was a great fight. It was the first time I went the distance. It was actually the first time I actually fought outside in front of the sun like that. So that had some disadvantages in itself. Trying not to get blinded and punched at the same time. So it was a great experience. I had an opportunity to be in LA and fight in that stadium. That was the first time I did that. So at that particular point, I was loving everything I was doing. Excuse me 1 second, my little man is calling me. Hold on 1 second. Back to what I was saying. Yeah, at that point, man, it was great because I knew I was learning more, and the experience that I was getting, with going the distance in that fight, I knew I was getting the right amount of experience that I needed at that point in my career. It was cool.
And that was on the Shane Mosley, Ricardo Mayorga card, like I said. Had to grow up a big Shane Mosley fan too, right?
Yeah, big Shane Mosley fan. And at that time, Andre Berto, he fought Forbes. I was a huge Andre Berto fan, and I still am.
Yeah.
So that was a great card to be under.
And 3 weeks later, you knock out Tyrone Watson in the first round, so you're back and you're knocking him right now. That was on the big Hopkins-Pavlik card. What about?
Oh, yeah. And that fight there, this had some significance to it as well because my idol, my favorite fighter, a guy who I love, Roy Jones Jr., he was in the crowd. And, I got a chance to make eye contact with him and give him that, acknowledgement, from fighter to fighter, that appreciation, and I showed him that before I fought. And then, knowing he was watching me as I was performing, I had to give him my best. And I went out there and put my combinations together and, put the body shots together. The guy was out of there, and then I remember being so happy, I just, gave Floyd that, I did it. This for you. You know what I mean? So that fight was really, really cool because I had my idol there. So that was amazing.
And your next fight was on a Roy Jones undercard. You fought at the Garden. What's that like? Alone, just fighting at the Garden, a New York boy, for the first time as a pro.
That was pretty cool, but it wasn't as big as I thought it would be. I really didn't have the support that I thought I was gonna have in New York. At that time, my family and everyone who was close to me was there to support me. But I thought it was going to be, a little bit bigger than it was for me. it's like, when you fight early, no one shows up. So I guess I was maybe about the third or fourth bout on the card, and it wasn't really jam packed, but it was just enough people. You know what I mean? But that was still one of the greatest performances that I put on. With a little bit of people there. That fight there was to me, one of my best performances as a pro.
Yeah.
I remember putting my combinations together, keeping my hands up, punching off the block. I really didn't have anything that I could say I did wrong in that fight.
And what'd you think of that Roy Jones, Joe Calzaghe fight main event?
Oh, I mean, I think that was kind of like the turning point for Roy. You know what I mean? Even though he had that loss before, I still think really where he started to really go downhill. And it hurts for me to say this because, I love Roy to death, but from when he really started to go downhill, I really think that was a turning point. Because he did have some spark early in the rounds and did drop Calzaghe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we still have to give him credit. And a lot of people don't give Roy a lot of credit for just what he brought into boxing in general. I remember tweeting about, after he fought Bernard Hopkins for the second time, and a lot of people, criticized both the fighters and all. They told about how corny and how cheesy they were and how whack of a performance they put on. But I'm just like, look at what all that they brought to the sport. But these guys brought some of the most entertaining bouts that we've ever seen in boxing. Look at the flash that Roy has put on. Look at the heart and determination that B-Hop has put on. So, I kind of felt like I needed to speak up for them in a sense because they really brought something to the sport that no one has brought.
Yeah. And did you have a chance to speak to Roy? Either before that fight,
briefly, and then we did a backstage, the pre-fight. When we do like a pre-fight, I forget exactly what you call it, but they take notes and stuff like that about the fighter, particular fighter, before we actually fight, so they can have a little bit of bio about the fighter. So we did that, but I couldn't really act like he was like the biggest star in my eyes. So I had to keep it cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had to really play it like he's just another fighter. But Roy is one of my, he's going to be one of my greatest fighters of all time.
Yeah, and you defeated Jimmy Campbell that night, and then you fought again a month later on the Oscar De La Hoya Manny Pacquiao card. You stopped Victor Lares in 2. How surprised were you watching the main event that night? Oscar.
Shocked. And you know what? The story about my son, I think it was this card.
Okay.
That was a mistake. Yeah, it was this card with the Oscar and Pacquiao. But this was unheard of.
Yeah.
This the Oscar in the fashion that he did it.
Yeah.
But this was totally unheard of. When I was watching the fight live, I couldn't believe my eyes. How Manny, and this when I knew Manny Pacquiao was on his way to being one of the greatest fighters of all time. To just dominate Oscar De La Hoya the way that he did. And, even no matter what state Oscar was in, whether or not he was going downhill, whether or not he was over the top, he's still Oscar De La Hoya. And no one has ever done this to him the way that it was done. So I knew Manny Pacquiao was special from that day.
Yeah. I remember watching him do the same thing to Marco Antonio Barrera, and it surprised me. And it surprised me when he did it to Oscar, too. Just kept surprising me. The more he moved up, seemed more like a killer. And that was your last fight at 08. When it was all said and done, you had 12 fights that year. You turned pro in December 07. And that's a hell of an opening year, Danny.
Absolutely, and I wish more young fighters can do that nowadays. All I wanted to do was just fight because that's what made me happy.
Yep.
Being in that ring, I was invincible. I was the king of my kingdom, if you will. You know what I mean? It really took me to another place, and kind of like when you meditating, you take it to that other world. That's how I felt. Like I was in another world, and then the TV, and then the fans, and then the little fame that I was getting. This is everything that I've always wanted from a child. I always wanted to be an entertainer. I always wanted to be a star. So I was living my dream.
Yeah. And you begin your 09 campaign with another knockout. Then you pick up 3 more wins, 2 more by knockout. And then you face Ishe Smith in the biggest test of your young career. Take me back to that night with Ishe. What was that fight like?
That was a great learning experience. honest, we thought we had EJ all figured out as far as the game plan, but he came and he totally switched it because, you know, he actually brought it. Whereas before, he was just, you know, kind of like boxing, just kind of like easy going in the ring. But he actually brought it, man. And, you know, I wish I would have stood my ground a little bit more instead of moving all around and trying to box and out, because I really felt like I could have done a lot more damage had I stood my ground and sat on my punches a little bit more, because I was landing. I mean, it wasn't that hard to hit him. You know, he was very crafty, but I didn't feel like I had to work the extra mile to get points. Yeah. So if we would have sit on my punches just a little bit more, I feel like I would have did a little bit more damage. But it was a great learning experience. I even got caught with a good shot that I didn't see, and I took the good shot. You know, I moved all around, and those are the things that you want to learn as a young fighter. You want to be able to get tested. You want to be able to know that you can take it and learn how to deal with that problem when you're faced with it. And that's what I did. I dealt with the problem, and I stuck it out, and I fought every minute of every round.
Mm-hmm. And that was for the WBO, NABO middleweight title. Do you think that was added nerves, maybe, the reason why you couldn't perform quite the way you wanted to?
I don't think it was the nerves, because I was very confident, but I just think I had the wrong game plan. You know, I really feel like, opposed to boxing, and that's experience. You know, if I had a little bit more experience, I would have known to sit down and stop moving, because he wasn't throwing that many punches at one point. You know, all he was doing was just coming towards me, and I was moving. You know, it's like I was scared to get hit, when actually I wasn't. That's just how I trained to fight that particular fight. You know, but you know, experience was definitely learned that night. You know, I got a good deal of it, and I started applying it in a gym, and you know, unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to really apply it really too much afterwards because of situations that happened. But you know, I definitely learned from that, and it's still going to show in the fights as I move along in my career.
And that night, you finally can hold something in your hands that you won. How did it feel holding that championship?
It felt amazing, and you know, I think the most amazing thing about that night was having my family there. You know, my dad was there, my son was there, you know, his mom was there, my mom, and it just really felt like it was meant to be, and those are the moments that you live for. But I mean, like, we're entertainers, but we still have family life. We're still humans, but we still love, and we still have to live our lives. So, you know, for me, that was one of the biggest moments in my life, because I had the most important people in my life to share with me. So that was just awesome.
That was your last fight, 2009. That was enough for you to win Prospect of the Year by Dan Rafaela, ESPN. How good does that feel?
Right. And that was the icing on the cake. You know, I feel like I put in a lot of hard work, and I really felt like I was getting credit. I didn't feel like, you know, people, I mean, of course you're going to have your naysayers that say, you know, I don't deserve the things that I was getting, but, you know, for the most part, I was getting a lot of good feedback from the fans and from blogs and from, you know, just the interviewers, you know, the blog, you know, all those people. I got a good feedback from them. Yeah. And the icing on the cake was Prospect of the Year, because you got to look at who has done it before me. And that's what made me feel so good, because it was Victor Ortiz, it was Andre Berto, it was all these different guys, and you had the Oscar De La Hoyas. I mean, all these guys made this list. So for me to even be on that list, I mean, come on, that's history right there. You know, you can never take that away from me. You know, you can take my belt away, you can take all these different things away, but all my accomplishment that I had, you can't take that away.
That's right. It's got to be awesome. And your next fight. Your next fight, 7 months later. Why such a long break? Did you just want to break at that time?
Oh no, actually, Ishe got a hard head, man. I actually fractured my knuckle, and when I was boxing Ishe, you know, I hit him with a clean shot, and I remember, I forget which. Oh, okay, I can look at it. It was my left hand. The capsule shifted on my knuckle.
Wow.
And I think after the tissue that was there had completely deteriorated, so it was nothing supporting my knuckle. So I had to get a cast, and I was off for some time, and it was really hard for me because I was looking forward to capitalize off that great victory. I was looking forward to getting some more experience from some better guys and moving up the ladder accordingly, but it didn't happen that way.
You got back in the ring, though, and you didn't waste time that night. You put Jose Rodriguez down twice in round 1 and stopped him. Then you stopped Juan Astorga, and you added the NABF title to your growing collection. How'd that feel, winning the NABF title? You're moving on up now.
That felt pretty good, but the level of competition in which I won the belt, I wish it could have been better. He was a pretty good fighter, but I wanted someone that was able to push me that night, especially winning the belt. You never feel like you want to win a belt, and it's not challenging. So I've always wished that I had an opportunity to win that belt with a more stiffer competition. Because this experience that I'm going after, if I'm trying to be, a champion, if I'm trying to make it into the Hall of Fame, all these things count when you're trying to climb up that ladder. And all the experience that I was trying to get, I didn't get it in that fight, nor did I get it in, a couple fights previous to that. So, it was unfortunate, but I'm still blessed that I have the opportunity to win the belt because, there's a lot of boxers out there who are great that don't have the support that I have to get them to that level. So no matter how you look at the situation, I was very grateful because I was in a position to have it.
Yeah, and you're still young, 19-0 now, and you step in the ring with fellow unbeaten contender Dmitry Parag. He's 16-0.
Right.
This is for the WBO middleweight championship.
Yeah.
Somebody's had to go. Bring me back to that night. Parag fight.
Wow.
Parag.
This was so. I mean, I was really, really excited about this. This was everything that all the hard work from being an amateur, all the hard work from being an up and coming prospect that I put in the gym, all the years that I put in the gym. This is what the moment was about. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, this moment for me, it kind of filtered my mind because I had some personal issues. Everyone knows that, my grandmother, I was very close to my grandmother, and she passed away. And not only did she pass away, I think it was that Monday or Tuesday that she passed away, and then I had to fly out to the fight that following Wednesday. You know what I mean? But not only did she pass away, but I seen her pass away. Like, I was with her last moments. She's Jehovah's Witness, like I mentioned before, and I just remember all my family members being around her bedside, and one of her favorite songs that they sing in one of the Jehovah's Witness songbooks. I remember singing. We all sung that her favorite song, and then after the song was over, that's when she passed away. So it was heartbreaking for me. You know what I mean? It was devastating. And I wish I would have took the advice of my family. I wish I would have took the advice of even Al. Even Al second guessed me. He said, I don't think it's a good idea for you to do it. But me, I convinced him that I wanted to do it in her honor. But I wasn't strong enough. You know what I mean? I can admit that mentally I just wasn't strong enough to actually go in there. Physically, we were ready. I mean, I was in tip-top shape. You know what I mean? I had everything that I needed. We had the great game plan. You know what I mean? But the night of the fight, I just remember being backstage, and all I can think about was her. And then, my cousin, who was, at the time, he was my strength trainer, he said, this is for Grandma. We're going to go out there, we're going to do this for Grandma. And I just remember just bawling, just crying.
Yeah.
And going into your toughest fight, going into the biggest stage of your life, you need to be 100% mentally strong, and I wasn't. So I put a mask on, I put a shield on, I didn't let anybody see me hurt. I went out there, tried to trick myself into really thinking that I could do this and do this in a way where I was going to be effective. But I remember just the first round, I'm boxing and I'm thinking to myself, God dog it, man, I don't want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking to myself as I'm punching and as I'm dipping punches. I'm just like, I don't want to be here. this is not where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be home with my family right now. And I mean, I remember before the 5th round came, because the 5th round is where, I got clipped. But I remember in the 4th round, in between rounds, I was like, God, I don't want to be here. Like, just get me home already.
Mm-hmm.
And the 5th round came, and it was over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And from me taking my first loss, I didn't care about that. It wasn't the loss, and it wasn't even being embarrassed on TV. I didn't care about that because it comes with the territory. You know what I mean? I'm mature enough to know that, but I just wanted to be home. So I remember, getting checked out at the hospital, and then from the hospital, we went straight to the airport because the funeral was the next day. You know what I mean? So, I mean, people criticize me and people judge me, but put yourself in my shoes. Understand the things that I was going through mentally. Imagine your mom dying, because she was close to me like my mom. So imagine your mom dying and you having to fight the biggest fight of your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's few people out there who can mentally go through that and be strong. And I just wasn't one of them. And I'm proud to say that. I'm fortunate that I had a chance to fight for the belt. You know what I mean? Because most people come where I come from. It's a lot of boxers come where I come from, don't have an opportunity to fight for a belt. So that was history for me. I still made history, win, lose, or draw. So it was still a good experience, but I just wish I was mentally ready for that fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Some people might point out that Buster Douglas's mom died right before he fought Tyson, but he still had time to let it sink in and stuff,
Right.
You didn't have time. You got to get right home and go to awaken.
It's those out there who are mentally strong, and you can use that energy and transition it to positive energy. But I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't mentally strong where I can say I'm going to do this for grandma. You know what I mean? And because people don't understand the amount of love I have for this woman. And I'm an emotional guy. I can admit that. You know what I'm saying? I'm a really emotional dude. So it was hard for me to jump over that hurdle and succeed. So the way everything happened, I won't say I'm glad it happened that way, but I was just glad to get home.
Yep.
Because I probably would have missed my flight had I went more rounds. So I just got my flight just in time. I caught the red eye out. So if I wouldn't won the belt, it was either the belt or seeing my grandmother off. And I wanted to see my grandmother off. You know what I mean? I wanted to kiss her one last time and tell her goodbye. You know what I mean?
Yep. And were you ever hurt like that in a fight or in your whole life? In a fight or sparring or anything? Were you ever hurt like that?
You know what? It was weird because it didn't hurt. That's the thing. I could imagine if the shot where I got clipped, that didn't hurt. I remember getting hurt like the 3rd round. And that was just like a regular hurt. Like I've been hurt like that before in the gym. Not where I went down, almost went down, but I've been caught with good body. Luis Colazo caught me with a great body shot that I had to take a step back. Like, well, okay, Louis, take it easy. This is days when I was amateur, but I've been hurt before. And it's nothing that doesn't come with the territory that I'm not used to. But the shot that I went down from, I actually wanted to get back up and fight. You know what I mean? I remember, and Zab is a really good friend of mine, so this isn't taking any cheap shots at Zab, but when I went down, I remember thinking about Zab and the floor that he made with Costa Zoo getting up. I don't know why I thought about that at that time, but I thought about it. I said, okay, Danny, take your time, breathe, because it happened so fast, and all I remember was just seeing the ref. I said, okay, you got dropped. You know what I mean? Take your time, take deep breaths, and get back up. You know what I mean? So when I took a deep breath, I believe the ref got to 5. Okay, I said, I got time, I'm going to get up. And as soon as I go to get up, he like shoves me back down. You know what I mean? I'm just like, wait, what are you doing? Like, I know you're not about to stop it. And he just waves it off. And I'm just like, shit. Like, you need, this is for the world championship of the world. You know what I mean? People don't get opportunities like that. You're not even supposed to let a fight. You're supposed to put it in my hands. If I can't fight, let me be able to prove I can't fight. You know what I mean? Because I feel like he dictated to me, and I understand he meant well by it. So I'm not judging him, but at the same time, you know, you got to look at the type of fight it was. It was a world-class fight for a world championship belt. So, you know, you got to give me the respect of, you know, getting up and trying, at least trying.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, you know, everything that I think that night was supposed to happen that way.
So you didn't react the way Zab did react that night that he got stopped by Zoo. The ref wasn't safe.
Right. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was supposed to happen that way.
Yeah.
You know, and it did. And all I can do is use this as leverage, where I can use this as experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people think that, oh, he got exposed, and, you know, when I lost that fight, I didn't lose my skills. You understand what I'm saying? I'm still a talented fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Still have the ability to be a great fighter. You understand what I'm saying? So when people, I remember putting a tweet out there, like, it's funny how, you know, boxers can lose 1 or 2 times and they're considered bums. But when you're in the NBA and you lose about a good 10 times, you still can be considered an all-star.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just crazy, because I put my life on the line when I'm out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what we all do. So I hate that about boxing, though. You know what I mean? Because they're very judgmental, the fans. And, you know, boxing fans are some of the hardest fans to come across. But, you know, like I said, at the end of the day, when I lost that fight, I didn't lose my skills. I just lost a fight. And due to the circumstances, it's understandable.
Yep.
Now, me moving on, now you can say, okay, now he's 100%. You know, his mind is right. Let's see what he is now. And this is why I'm dying to prove to people. Well, not prove to people, but prove to myself. You know what I mean? That I have what it takes, because I know. You know what I mean? I know that I can be whatever it is I see myself out to be.
Exactly. Exactly, man. And did you notice changes in how people treated you after that fight?
Oh, absolutely.
Lose some fake fans?
Absolutely. I mean, you hear about stories where they say, you know who your real friends are, but you lose. And, man, I didn't experience that to the fullest extent till after this fight. You know what I mean? I really got a chance to see who was in my corner. You know what I mean? But it was expected. You know what I mean? It's expected.
Yeah.
And I can't blame people for it, because, hey, that's just what it is. You know what I mean? People like winners, and if you ain't on a winning team at that particular moment, they're going to overlook you. You know, but I'm fortunate that I have fans, and that I have my family, and that I have my real supporters stick by me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Through all my tough times, I had those people to stick by me. And that's who I really care about. And that's who I care about pleasing and entertaining, is my real fans and my real family and my real support group.
Yeah, because there's a lot of fickle fans out there and a lot of fickle media.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. It's a brutal world out there, man.
Yeah, it is.
It's really a brutal world, but I try to stay out that life as much as possible.
Yeah, and you returned 5 months later. Did you feel ready for a ring return yet? Or did you kind of rush it?
You know what? I was a little timid. You know, I came back, and I believe I fought in
Quebec.
I fought in Canada on the Beehive card when he fought Pascal.
Yeah, first.
And I remember being a little tentative, as you know. I remember, okay, I don't want to get hit with a shot, and then, you know, second guess myself whether or not I could take a punch. So I remember being a little tentative, like, okay, we're gonna take our time. But I realized that it wasn't, you know, in the third or fourth round, I realized that it had anything to do with me losing. It had nothing to do with my chin. You know what I mean? I just took a loss, and that's what it was. So I remember my coach telling me, get your ass out there and do what you got to do. Stop waiting. You know what I mean? He said, we don't get paid for overtime. You know what I'm saying? So I went out there, and I put my combination together, and I got the guy out of there in the 5th round or something like that. So, but it's those things that it's natural. Unconsciously, you know, I was out there, and I performed that way. Because unconsciously, my mind was telling myself that I was a little bit afraid that, you know, the same results might happen. But no, reality is that it's not. You know, it's not going to happen if I do what I have to do. Now, I possess all the talent that I need to be victorious and to not get hit. You know what I mean? Especially from that point on losing, we worked on a lot of different things. So I knew that the things we worked on, it was getting better. It wasn't 100%, but it was getting better. With keeping my hands down, pulling back, things of that nature. Because as an amateur, I would always get away with those things. I was so fast, and my agility was superb. I wouldn't get hit rarely. So I could afford at that time to do those things. But in the pros, it's a totally different world. You got to be on point. You're fighting grown men with grown man strength. You know what I mean? So it's those things you have to look out for. But I'm totally confident in my ability, and moving forward, man, I'm just excited to see how everything would turn out for my career moving on.
Yeah, I mean, you don't see baseball players being timid of striking out again after they strike out. Things happen in the sport you're in, and that's just something you you actually just gotta shake it off, I guess. But that was your last fight of 2010.
But they make it hard for you to shake it off.
Yeah, I know.
The media and the public and some of the harsh fans, they make it hard for you because they don't understand. I mean, sometimes they have more of an effect than the actual fight. You know what I mean? With stuff that you read online and stuff that they write to you with the haters and all that stuff. I feel bad for my good friend Victor Ortiz. You know what I mean? Because Victor is a wonderful, great fighter. He has tremendous heart. You know what I mean? And I know him personally outside the ring. He's a tremendous guy.
Yeah.
But when I seen all the hate and all the criticism that people was giving him, I was just like, man, I just hope he can be able to bounce back from this because, they can really kill your spirit. It's not the actual fight, but, fans don't understand how powerful their words are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're humans just like they're humans. And if we had, just put themselves in our shoes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How would you react? It would be hard, you know what I mean? So, but that's come to the territory, like I said before. But all we can do is just use it as experience and move on.
Yeah, and that was your last fight of 2010. In your first fight of 2011, you only had one fight in 2011, but you fought Robert Cleaver in March of last year, and you didn't know it then, but you actually found out a couple months after that fight that you had osteosarcoma. And for those of you who don't,
and I probably was actually diagnosed with it in that fight. I mean, I don't even know how long I was actually diagnosed with this. You know what I mean? I probably could have had this for a very long time, but the symptoms just started to come out at that particular time that it did. So, I mean, who knows?
What was some of the symptoms that you saw?
Well, the symptoms, I mean, it was very clear. I remember getting back because we went overseas to Iraq, me, Oscar De La Hoya, Adrian Broner, and Chef Mitchell. We went to support the troops in a USO tour, which was an amazing experience in itself. But when I came back from there, I remember going to the gym, and I was scheduled to leave to go to camp with Freddie Roach because, he was my new trainer. So I was supposed to leave maybe a couple days after I got back, or a couple weeks after I got back. But I remember going to the gym and riding my bike to the gym, and my pedals started skipping, like I couldn't time it. And I just thought it was because, when you're not training and, you're sexually active, you're weak. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was from that. I just thought that was weak legs from not training. You know what I mean? So, but day by day, it was getting worse. My legs, from my belly button down, it was weak. And I remember just not being able to walk, and I remember having to use a cane, and it was crazy. And I would say 4 or 5 days later, I was completely paralyzed from my waist down.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And it was the most devastating time of my life because I did not understand what was going on. You know what I mean? I really didn't understand what was happening to me until I went to the doctor and found out all these different things.
Yeah, and osteosarcoma is a form of cancer that's in the spine. How'd you feel hearing that? A young guy, seemingly healthy, who's been pretty much beating everyone's butt and just being at the top of a sport like boxing, to find out that you're sick with something that could actually kill you. How's that feel? It's got to be horrifying.
It was like I couldn't process it. So I don't remember how I felt. I just remember feeling like lost. Like wait, what? How is this possibly happening to me? You know what I mean? I'm in shape. I'm a great athlete. You know, I eat the right foods. You know, I take my supplements. How can this happen to me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was very distorted. I was just like all over the place. And I remember the doctor telling me how fortunate I was because the tumor that was actually growing on my spine was growing so rapid that if I would have waited, because we got the surgery over the weekend, so he said if I wouldn't have came over the weekend and I would have waited a couple days, that the tumor would have grew so big it would have slowed my heart down and it would have killed me. So I was very fortunate to come in at the time that I did. So that, I mean, knowing that I was actually kind of like on my deathbed and, you know, I cheated death. I mean, for a young guy like myself, it was hard to process.
Yeah, you're a young guy, but you said yourself that you're an emotional guy too, and I know that because I'm an emotional guy too, and to know you have your own kids to look after and to think that you might not be there for them, you know, it's gotta be horrifying.
And that's all I could think about was just my son.
Yeah.
How am I going to be able to support him? How am I going to be able to be there for him if I can't walk?
Yeah.
If I can't do how am I going to be able to be a dad? And that's what really hit me hard. And you know, I really wish I had my grandmother at that time because I knew she would have got me through it. You know what I mean? She would have really got me through it. She would really make me feel calm. But I did have a great support system in my family. I mean, everybody was there for me. You know, so through that tough time, through all that I went through, from the radiation treatment, because the tumor was cancerous, so I had cancer.
Wow.
You know, from getting radiation treatments, you know, and that taking my appetite away and my mood swings. You know, my family was my number one support group, and without my family, man, I really don't think I would have been able to get through this. You know what I mean? Because it was very hard. I mean, even physical therapy, learning how to walk again, that was hard. And I remember breaking down at times, like, I can't do it. You know what I mean? I can't do it. And I would just remember my family pushing me, like, you can do it. You know, we're here to support you. And even my son, he didn't understand what was going on, but he was the biggest support that I had. Just him being there made me want to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was an unfortunate situation, but you know, I was still in a comfortable place in my life.
And here we are 15 months later, and how's your health now, Danny?
Oh, man, I'm 100% cleared. You know, the doctors are super surprised because, you know, the doctors told me I would never be able to box again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let me just tell you the story of how that went. So I'm sitting at this round table with the doctors, and I remember it's a couple doctors, couple nurses, and it's like a couple people in some suits. Like I don't know what the deal with that was, but I just remember, you know, talking to them, and they was like, yeah, so you know, this is gonna be that, and you're gonna go through this, and we don't think you're gonna be able to box no more. And then that's like, wait, what? Wait, I can't box again? And then everything that they said, it was like Charlie Brown. It was like, wah, 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 wah. You know what I mean? I didn't hear anything else. All I remember was them saying that I can't box again. You know what I mean? And then they, you know, I was in a wheelchair, so they rolled me into the other room, and they gave me some, you know, like some psychotherapy. Like this person was talking to me as if I was going to kill myself. You know what I mean? Like, now that you can't box again, you know, how do you feel? Do you think suicidal thoughts? And I was just like, wait, is this shit all, excuse me. I'm like, wait, is this stuff all happening to me right now? Yeah, but that's what I said. Like, I really cursed. Like, I'm like, is this shit really happening to me right now? You know what I mean? And I really couldn't believe it.
I know.
Really cannot believe it. But, you know, I really stuck it out because in my mind, I always knew that there's always stories that doctors, there's always stories of doctors saying what athletes or people in general can't and cannot do. You know what I mean? But it's up to that individual as far as how hard they really want it, their determination, and their faith in God and praying and getting to that level. So I knew it had nothing to do with what the doctor said. So it took a couple of days to digest it, but from that point on, I knew I was going to box again. You know what I mean? I knew that the only person that was going to dictate to me what I can do and I can't do is me. So, slowly but surely I started getting better. And, to this, I stand before you today saying that I'm 100% in health. My cancer is gone, from having zero nerves, in my legs, not being able to walk, being paralyzed. I have my nerves back. Wow. You know what I mean? So it's a complete 360. And I don't know what else to say, but God is good. I mean, I'm completely blessed. You know what I mean? To have this opportunity to do what I love to do again. You know what I mean? Because to be in that hospital bed for the months that I was in the hospital, you just could imagine the things that was going on in my mind. That's why I feel so, and I'm going to reach out to Paul soon, and because I felt so bad for him, because I had a connection with him that no one will have. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? No other person in this world, because we are the only two boxers that ever went through something like this. Yeah. So we had a connection that no one can share, and I really feel for him. And I'm going to reach out to him, and I'm going to really give him, my best wishes and as much support as I can, because you need as much support going through something like that as possible. Yep. But Paul is the champion. I believe he will walk, and I believe he will fight again. So, he will definitely be in my prayers.
Yeah, I hope to God he does. And
yeah, man.
You actually are returning to the ring. It kind of reminds me of either Willie Pep or Vinny Pazienza. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a guy, a fan of mine, was saying, "Bro, you're going to be like the Lance Armstrong of boxing." And I was just like, "That's so true." I mean, this story that I have will inspire so many different people. This has nothing to do with boxing. This has everything to do with life and difficulties and triumph in life. Being the best possible person that you can be and not let anything get in your way, or not letting anyone dictate to you what you can do. We actually can do anything we want to do in this world. Anything is possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So the story that transitioned to this big comeback is so inspiring that I'm actually fortunate I went through everything. Because now I'm going to have even more of a connection with my fans. And I'm going to get more new fans on another level. And I'm so fortunate for that. And I remember I put a post on, I'm always posting stuff. I put a post on Instagram of a picture of Muhammad Ali, and it was a picture of him, with all the African kids. And I remember saying that, it's not important for me to be one of the greatest boxers of all time, because there's so many different boxers. I mean, just being a Hall of Fame is okay with me. To be the greatest fighter of all time, it's great, but I mean, that's not the goal. I just want to inspire so many different people, and I'm in a position where I can do that. So that means more to me as far as inspiring people and making people believe in themselves, or just the story, what it can do for people. That means more to me than being the greatest fighter of all time. Because not a lot of people can say they can inspire people, but they can be the greatest fighter of all time. But what impact can you have on the world? And I have a very, I'm very fortunate to have this story, because I can have a good impact on the world. You know what I mean? Depending on how everything turns out, being a champion. Can you imagine if I become world champion? That is one of the greatest comeback stories of all time. You know what I mean? So moving along forward, that's my drive, my goal. You know what I mean? Trying to complete this story where I can have and I can inspire so many people, because that's my goal. I mean, like I said, man, it's still to this day, I can't believe I went through everything. Like, when I think about it, my emotions, it don't add up when I think about it, because I really feel like, damn, like I went through that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like a big blur, but I'm very fortunate that I went through everything I went through, because I'm a champion. You know what I mean? And there's no other there's no other example of a champion than what I went through.
Yeah.
For people to criticize me from this point on,
Can't do it.
Can't, because you can't. No other person has went through what I've went through.
Mm-mm.
I mean, so I'm a champion, and I believe in myself, and I believe in the things that I'm going. God willing, I believe in the things that I'm going to do in this sport, and I want to make history.
Yeah, and I could feel your passion. I could feel it. And the good news is you have a fight scheduled for October. How excited are you? Returning
Oh my
to the ring.
God, it's so picture perfect. You know what I mean? I really feel like my life is like a movie right now because it's so picture perfect. For me to go through everything that I went through and to be in 100% health at this time, to be able to box on this card in my hometown, the new stadium. I mean, it don't get no better than that coming back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I feel like I'm gonna come back where I left off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is so. It means so much more to me now than it ever did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even train the same. You know, no one has to wake me up in the morning. No one has to tell me the things I have to do anymore because it's embedded in me already. My whole mind frame has changed.
Yeah.
I grew up not a little bit. I grew up a lot. I matured a whole lot in this ordeal.
Yeah.
So I don't even think the same way I used to think a year and a half ago.
No.
All around the board, like I said, all around the board, I'm blessed, I'm fortunate, and I'm a champion. That's how I look at myself.
And you said it. And you had the help and the love of your family, and your grandmother gets to speak into God's air now. So you got people looking out for you and loving you, man.
Absolutely.
And by the time you step back in the ring, you'll have been out 19 full months. How much rust do you feel built up in that time?
Well, I think only time will tell. I think, because you can look good in the gym and you can perform at your best in the gym, which I have, but actually get in there, I can't tell. Because it's totally different when you're actually in there. The rest I definitely think will be there. So we're gonna definitely work our way up to where we have just enough competition level to where it won't be that stern of a test to where I won't prevail. You know what I mean? At this time in my life, I really need to pace myself.
Yeah.
So I need to pick the right opponent to where I can get the rust out, and then once I start getting a little bit better, a little bit more confident, then we can start going after the big dogs. Because like I said, I lost the fight, but I didn't lose my skills. And now, not only do I have, am I getting better in my skills, but my confidence level, my whole mind frame, I'm totally different, and I'm much more hungry than I ever was. So now I'm really excited to see where my career is going to go now.
Yeah, I'm excited too, man. And who you training with?
Well, I got back with my old trainers. I got back with them. I wanted to experience this history with them. Freddie Roach is a great trainer, and I'm not excluding Freddie out the picture. Freddie is still a part of my team, if he wants to, of course. But I wanted to experience this with my team because they've been with me since day one. You know what I mean? I wanted to have a chance, an opportunity to get back with my team and to open the bar play and to have some history moments there. You know what I mean? And then, what happens from that point on, I don't know. But I love my team. Me making that switch from my team to Freddie was a big move for me. People don't know how hard that was. You know what I mean? But this moment that I'm going to be sharing, I want to share it with them. Yeah. I want to share it with them because they're like my fathers. You know what I mean? They've been with me since I was 15 years old. So if I would want to share this moment with anybody, it would want to be my team. So this has a lot of meaning. Me coming back. This has a lot of meaning fighting in this Barclays Center. It really has a lot of meaning. I'm super excited.
Yeah. And you're still with Golden Boy, right?
Still with Golden Boy. I still got Al. Still got Golden Boy. And they still believe in me, and that's a blessing. Because you normally, they would probably be like, everything that you went through. I don't know. I don't want to put my investment back into you. You know what I mean? I don't want to chance it. But Al is a stand-up guy. I love Al. Al is, he is a phenomenal person. The besides business, outside the ring,
He signed everybody.
With him, he's a great guy. So it's more than just boxing. So he believes in me, and to have Golden Boy and to have Al continue to believe in me and to give me this outlet, it's amazing. This is picture perfect for me.
Yep.
I have a second opportunity. I'm going to make the best out of it as much as I can.
Still no opponent, though, right?
Huh?
You don't have an opponent named yet, right?
Oh, no, they're still working on opponents now. I mean, you know how that is. When you're working on opponents, especially at this stage, maybe when you fight 6-rounders, it's going to be super hard to find opponents. You know what I mean? Especially me being who I am. A lot of people pull out. So it's going to be extremely hard to find an opponent. But, they'll find somebody, I'm sure. So we'll probably have somebody within the next week or two.
What weight will you return at?
Well, surprisingly, I got, post-surgery, with all the stuff that they was giving me and shooting me up with all these different insulins, and I don't know, man, I got all the way up to 220.
Oh, wow.
I was a real fat boy. I've never had a gut like that in my life. I mean, I remember laughing and my stomach was like jiggling. You know what I mean? So I've never experienced that before. But now I've been losing so much weight that I think I'm losing too much weight. Like my determination and my drive, I think I'm overtraining. My trainers had to tell me, take a couple days off. You know what I mean? I just got back from Las Vegas, and this was a little break for me because I was training really hard, but I had a health and nutrition convention that I had to go to, and I was out there speaking. So, that was pretty cool also. But, I got down to, 168, and this was last week. And we almost, 2 months out the fight? 2 months out before the fight?
Wow.
Well, I'm losing a lot of weight, you know what I mean? So I want to be able to take my time. So I'll probably go about 165 for this fight. So I really don't kill myself. And, it's not that much, it's not important of a fight as far as, a belt or anything in that concern. So weight really isn't important. So we'll be 165 and we'll be strong. So excited.
That's what matters, being strong. And have you been keeping up with the sport during your time off?
Huh?
Have you been keeping up with the sport during your time off?
Oh, man, I've been like Jeremy Lin, on the sideline, man. I've been studying the game, and, I've been looking at the competition, and I've been studying fighters, trying to add things to my game to make me better. I'm just super excited because all the things that I've learned this whole year and a half that I've been off, I just want to be able to show it. I want to be able to apply it into the ring when I get in there.
And what do you think
like
of that?
What I said with Jeremy Lin, he was on the sidelines for a whole long time, and then he came off and he exploded. He took off. So it's about to be a Jacobs sanity.
Who do you like in the Sergio Martinez Chavez fight?
Wow, you know what, man? Chavez has been improving, and he's been proving all the naysayers wrong. I mean, granted, he hasn't been looking that good in the early stages of his career, but he turned pro with no amateur fight, so he had to learn on the job.
Yeah.
But he's learning and he's applying all the things that he's learning. He's looking very strong. I was very surprised the way he handled Eddie Lee. He's looking very, very good. I mean, he still, to me, he still doesn't have the natural talent. I feel like he still has to work extra hard to get the W, but he does it. You know what I mean? He still gets the job done. Whereas Sergio Martinez has a little bit more natural talent that he has, and Sergio still works hard. But I don't know who's going to win this fight, man. It's really a toss-up for me.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about seeing this fight, though.
Me too. What do you think of Andre Ward, Chad Dawson? You must know Andre pretty good. Must know Chad pretty good too. Right?
Andre is one of my greatest fighters. I love Andre Ward, hands down. He is, to me, a stand-up guy outside the ring. Very professional, and down to earth, man. But as far as inside that ring, he turns it up. I mean, his skills are just, man, he's one of the greatest to me. And I really think that him having Chad Dawson as an opponent is going to be a lot of curveballs that he's going to have to catch. It's going to be a lot of things that's going to come his way that he's probably never seen before. And Chad Dawson is a really big, strong, light heavyweight. So he's going to be a lot stronger physically than Andre Ward is. But, I mean, Andre Ward fought Sakio Bika. It don't get no stronger than that. He fought Edison Miranda. He fought Arthur Abraham. So all these guys have the same amount of power as Chad Dawson. And he was able to handle them. And when I say handle, he really handled those guys. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he would be able to put his skills up against Chad Dawson, who's a legitimate light heavyweight in Southpaw at that. So it's going to be a great fight.
How about Saturday's Golovkin-Proxima fight? Any interest in that one?
Golovkin, oh man, he's a real deal. Like, he's really. I remember reading an article about him. They said he's boxing's lost treasure. And I mean, he really is. This guy is. I've seen some of his fights. He's really talented, man.
Yeah.
I really see, but I've never really had a chance to really see him fight, not only outside of his hometown, but on this stage. So I'm really excited to see how he will perform with the competition that they're going to put in front of him. I don't know too much about his opponent, but I hear he's going to have a stern test.
Yeah. And what do you think of the money team and 50's getting into the game as a promoter? He already has an impressive stable, and he's looking for more.
Oh, yeah. I really think it could do nothing but improve boxing. Any attention, especially from that world, that it bring to boxing, it's going to be good for it. I just, you just have a whole bunch of rap guys and, everybody else from that world that came into boxing that really didn't do anything big with it. Like, you had the Dame Dash promotions, and they really couldn't do, something huge. I mean, they made their mark to take it to the next level to where Oscar De La Hoya did. I'm really looking forward to see if they can do that. Golden Boy Promotions is the best promotions by far, bar none, out there in history. You know what I mean? To me.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited that it's something new because it brings a whole different audience to the sport of boxing. So, like I said, it's all going to be positive. I just want to see what they're going to do.
Yeah. Did you watch the Olympics at all?
I had a chance to watch a couple of fights. I really don't like the way the whole Olympic scoring system is, man. I wish it could be more of a pro style, and they score it the way the pros do a little bit more. But I watched my good friend Marcus Brown. I watched him fight, and it's just upsetting because I know Marcus he's going to be a great pro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just wish he had an opportunity to really get a fair shot in the Olympics. As far as scoring, you know what I mean? He's an exceptionally talented guy.
Yeah.
And I just wish he really could display them. And I wish they can score it in a way where it favors him. But the whole system over there, I don't know what's going on. It sucks. They had a female win a gold medal, and not to discard her because she's a phenomenal athlete herself. But they had more males than they had females. So to not have one male that medal and to have a female medal, I mean, it's something wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying anything wrong about the young lady because I've seen her box. She get down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She can throw them hands.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, to have more guys and to not have any one of them medal, is something wrong. And I just hope that in the future something changes to where, not that it can favor us, but that it can just be a little bit more fair.
It was a tough road to the Olympics for these guys, though, because they really didn't have a coach until like a month before they left to London, so they were really up against it, and it's just a mess. And the referee jobs and the judging is horrible.
It's that whole system that they have. It's really a mess, and the coaching staff. Not to say anything wrong about it, but I mean, I feel like you should bring some of the trainers. If not all the, I don't think that you should bring all the trainers to camp, but at least bring trainers that all the fighters will be comfortable with. You know what I mean? Like the Rashid Warren coach, Mike.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure all the fighters will be comfortable with him, and he knows what he's doing. And the Olympic staff, they train you to fight those European guys, which is okay. But to have a 360 as far as training, it's hard, and you can't learn that style. In that short span of time.
Yeah. I know you built up a lot of fans, and you're on Twitter. You talked about how you're sending tweets out and stuff. So I know you're on Twitter. How can your fans follow you?
Well, I'm gonna be starting my own website soon, but until that get up and running, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/DannyJacobsTKO. Also, I'm on Facebook. Just search in Danny Jacobs and you'll find me. And I'm just gonna be updating. Man, I'm very active with social media because that's where I have an opportunity to really connect.
Yeah.
With my fans and connect with, people that support me. Because I wish I had all these different Facebooks and Twitters and MySpace when, back when I was coming up. Because I would have loved to see what Roy Jones was doing during the time when he was training.
Yeah.
I would love to have a chance to tweet him and to tell him how much I appreciated him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fortunate, and that's why I'm so heavily involved in it, because there might be a little guy out there that was in a position where I wanted to be, and I might have an opportunity to change his world, or or inspire him just a little bit to where he could win an amateur tournament or do something with his life.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? But I have the outlet, so I'm going to try to make the best of it.
Yeah, you're a great talker and a great communicator. You think about getting into commentating ever?
I don't think about getting into commentating. I do want to be a motivational speaker though one day.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When trying to create this story, I do want to go around the world and motivate and inspire so many different people, whether it's kids, whether it's businesses, whether it's whatever it is. But with boxing, I don't think I want to do commentary. I mean, it's cool, but I just think, after that chapter is done, I think there's so much to life to explore. You know what I mean? Opposed to just sticking in this one sport. There's so many things that I want to do in my life. And once I retire, not to say that I'm going to abandon boxing, but I do want to be able to move on and venture different things that I've always wanted to in my life. So I don't think commentator is something that I would want to do. Not to say I'm not probably going to do it, but I don't see myself doing it.
Well, I'm glad you're still in the sport now, Danny. I'm glad you're doing better, and I can't wait to see your return. Wish you a lot of luck, my man. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Chris, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
And there you have it. Daniel Jacobs. You follow him on Twitter, and you could follow me on Twitter, too, at Chris2Guns. Thank you, and on behalf of everybody here at PBI Radio, appreciate Danny Jacobs' time and wish him a lot of luck.